What? You just said someone's.
Okay, it's
Craig
recording
is
us now.
he's the bot. Okay.
Yeah. I told you I have a bot for this
He's
kind
Craig
of
the bot, not, I don't know, Craig of the Creek or something.
As Protector once said last podcast, Craig is omnipotent. He hears all.
Yeah, after that intro of him just saying now recording, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't save that part, sadly.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, so this sounds so weird to me. For the viewers who are probably not gonna watch, well, you're probably gonna watch it because it's Sonic content. Welcome back. Welcome to the Anonymous Gamers. I'm here with Protector of Memes and our good friend Snackugo.
We're gonna talk about how Sonic's smooth transition to 3D.
We're gonna talk about one of the best Sonic games out there. Finally,
That is also true.
One. Yeah, it is. Well, 2/3 of us think that. One of us is like, I got some thoughts after this recent replay, and I'm just like, don't do it. Just don't be that guy.
So, before we get into the game, why don't we talk about how we got into Sonic Adventure?
Well, I guess I'll lead the charge on this. That's one because this blue rat is a constant obsession. I'll never die. Well, with Sonic Adventure, it was a bit of a slow grind getting around to it. First of its existence in the history section of this special book in Secret Rings, which we may be covering in the future. Aidan will save. And from then on, it just kind of faded into the background. And next real exposure was getting to hear Open Your Heart and Brawl, and eventually I did end up sampling Adventure 1 itself at a friend's house, making some decent progress. So Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. I think I got past the Chaos 4 boss fights on each run, so, there was that, but it would be a long time before I could actually play the game myself, which would come around on my 19th birthday in 2018, and getting a PS3. I handed down from one of my mom's friends, and decided to get Sonic Adventure for it. And when I found out I would be taking a while for my copy of Generations to arrive, and went through it, and liked it quite a bit, even if the HD version isn't really all that great. And that's pretty much it, though I would end up getting the Steam version a few years later. Saying out the Beta SDX mod, which was a million pain in the ass to do. Oh, and my love for the game only got stronger when I actually played it the way it was meant to be. Dreamcast lighting and textures with SIDX models and all missing sound bites restored. Perfect.
Sonic Adventure is the first Sonic game I ever played. I was blessed. I grew up in the golden age of Sonic. I'm a 90s baby. And the earliest I can remember it is I went to my cousin's house when, he still lived here. And he was playing Sonic Adventure and he was in the Chao Garden. I don't know what it was, man. It's like, what is that? And he explained, like, oh yeah, this is what you do in this section of the game. And he handed me the controller and I just started playing and I just literally could not put it down. And then obviously, like, the first thing you see is you're playing as Sonic, right? And then I played for a couple of hours, we finished the campaign. I was like, oh, is that it? He's like, oh no, there's like other gameplay styles. And then we pretty much played the whole game, like at least just the campaigns in one night. And yeah, man, like Sonic Adventure 1 is like one of the GOATs, dude. Like, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it is like Protector said when we started, like, I don't know if you can make, other than like Mario 64 and like maybe
Ocarina. Nah. I wouldn't say
not even that.
Metroid Prime, on the other hand.
Metroid Prime 1, like, other than that, I would just say, like, could you really have a smoother transition to 3D? And like, it just has so much personality and love and charm in it. It's just such a great game. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Seriously, you are fucking committed at getting all the campaigns done.
Oh yeah, but like when you're like 6-7 years old, that you have all the time in the world. Now I'm old, right? So I can't just sit and like dedicate 12 hours to a game now. in one day. But like back then, it was like, oh, I'm at my cousin's for the weekend. We're gonna do nothing but play this game. And
Finally, the best way to live.
yeah.
So I don't know if this is like the haziest thing with me with Sonic. I don't know what my first game is anymore, because like one day I will just be like, oh yeah, it was Sonic Heroes, oh it was Secret Rings, and in that shuffle it's Sonic Adventure, because I remember picking this game up for the GameCube, the DX version, and I remember I was really bad at it. I got to...
Well, duh, you were a kid. Kids suck at video games.
Let me put it this way. I got stuck at Sonic's Twinkle Park. I beat Tails. I couldn't do a single level of Knuckles. I couldn't do Hot Shoulder for Amy. Big was Big I couldn't do, and I couldn't even get past the fucking not Windy Valley, Emerald Coast for Gamma. And I was like 5 at the time.
Okay, you know what? Actual skill issue.
Yeah, actual skill issue. Although to be fair, if you were a kid, I didn't do any of Big when I first played. My cousin was like 3 years older than me. I think 3 or 4 years older than me. He did all the Big stuff, and then I did like most of the Sonic Knuckles stuff. My other brother did Tails, and then I think someone did Amy. I don't remember which one of us though.
It wasn't until middle or high school when I got an actual fucking PC and not that brick office PC my mother gave me. And I finally beat Sonic Adventure, and I was like, this is the game everyone puts in like the top 10. I don't see it. Like, it's good.
I mean, to be honest, apparently some consider it a hot take to put Sonic 1 at the bottom of a top 10, so you know.
Well, I mean, Sonic 1's good, but it's not the best classic game. It's not even one of the worst ones. But no. I think that we should talk about how we played this game. We all played the PC version, right?
Well, I mean, you know, my first full run of SA1 was on PS3, and then just played it again on PC when I got on Steam, and then ran the Better SDX mod with it. Do not play SA1 on PC without the Better SDX mod, ever.
But I did that before. But I did that when I played it for the first time on PC.
And that was back in 2010, 2011?
2020 or 2021.
Dude, he's like significantly younger than us. Significantly younger than us. He was in 2010, he was still in diapers, dude. Nah, I'm just joking. No,
okay.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I don't think it's that extreme.
I'm not that young.
No, but yeah, no, like I was like, 2010, 2011? I don't know, man. Might have been too advanced for that time. I played the GameCube version. I was like, the Dreamcast was dying out when I started playing games, like when I was like 6 or 7. So GameCube, I didn't think it looked anything special. I could obviously see like the transition they made from because obviously the model looks a lot different than it does on Dreamcast. But I mean, nowadays, Better SADX mod has to be installed. Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those wondering what the hell a Better SDX is, first off, if you have to ask that, you've probably been living under a bit of a rock. But more importantly, basically the gist of it is that it's to make the PC version of SA1 more in line with the Dreamcast version, in that, you know, the textures and lighting from that version are brought back, but also, we get actual fucking HD resolutions alongside widescreen. I couldn't even get that on the original HD re-release. Nice, but whatever. Restores a bunch of shit cut from both the GameCube and HD versions of SADX, like sound effects and cutscenes, things such as the gunfire on Chaos Zero, early in Sonic's story. Alongside restoring the Game Gear games as unlockables, and also giving you the option to switch between the Dreamcast models, which people seem to have a massive hard-on for, or the SADX models, which now genuinely look better than the than the Dreamcast models, also thanks to the better lighting and textures. But you know.
If I were to overall say if better SADX, one thing I would say that DX was a better version of Sonic Adventure, because I think the models look better. Honestly, like I don't see like the Dreamcast models have charm, but they
the low poly kind of charm.
He looks fat.
He looks fat.
He looks fat.
Just like classic Sonic. That's why people loved it. No, I'm just kidding, but
no,
for real,
but yeah.
I do believe that a lot of the hate the SDX models got was purely because the lighting and textures were shit, making them look like genuine plastic. Whereas, as you know, if you take a look at, you know, a screenshot of better SDX with the SDX models being used, you can tell that the difference is kind of night and day.
Also, the DX version's better because 60 FPS and better.
Oh yeah, that's right. SDX did at least have a couple of genuine improvements over the Dreamcast original. 60 frames per second instead of 30, that apparently also could dip down from that. But also, you are given the ability to skip cutscenes, which, given that the game does reuse those, you know, certain cutscenes, namely FMVs, and with no real changes, it's very much a welcomed addition, but, you know, people will swear by the Dreamcast visuals, which, I mean, yeah. You know, models notwithstanding, I mean, you know, Dreamcast version does excel in the visuals, whereas SDX feels like Color's Ultimate 0.5.
0.5.
Color's Ultimate 0.5.
But,
at least on
yeah.
I'm like, why? Like, why did you release this broken remaster?
We can save that rant for when we get to Colors.
So, I think the best thing that Sonic consistently has is the music. So, what do we think of Sonic Adventure's soundtrack?
Oh shit, I forgot. Actually, you know, I was gonna mention Beta Windy Valley being something you could also get into SDX, but we'll save that for when we actually talk about levels. So yeah, you know, I guess. Oh yeah, music. Starting off with that because, you know, Sonic music, it's good. No shit, Sherlock, but for real though, I'd say that, you know, the classics have some damn good music, but SA1 is when Sonic music truly ascended into legend and status. And it's like, you know, we already know that the main theme, Open Your Heart, is the textbook definition of iconic, next to Live and Learn, which just has that, but more. We're first getting to introduce those vocal themes to the characters, and I will say that all of them are hits. It Doesn't Matter, Believe in Myself, Unknown from ME, My Sweet Passion, Lazy Days Living in Paradise, and practically everything else about the game hits as far as the soundtrack is concerned. And, you know, whether it be the hub world themes that suit the mood of their respective areas, as excellently are the all-star selection of level songs, Azure Blue World for Emerald Coast, Pleasure Castle for Twinkle Park, Run Through the Speed Highway for, well, Speed Highway, Be Cool, Be Wild, and Be Groovy for the snowboarding section of Ice Cap, Goddamn Red Hot Skull, Skydeck a Go-Go, and especially Crank the Heat Up, all peak.
Crush 40 is the name of the band, right?
Yes, it is.
Right, Crush 40?
Yeah, Crush 40 is the one that the band that did Open Your Hearts. Although apparently they weren't actually known as Crush 40 when the game initially released.
I think they became Crush 40 after.
Yeah.
After the fact. I will say this. I think I agree with what Projector said. I mean, I never played the classics as a kid. I only appreciated them when I was like, I don't know, 20 or something, which is almost 10 years ago.
Oh god.
I know, yeah, I'm old, dude. But I will say, I think I agree with Protector wholeheartedly. Like, this is like, for me, the biggest, like, you can never have another first impression, right? And a lot of these games, not saying Sonic games, but a lot of games have like this opening cutscene that leads into the title screen, right? And I think Sonic Adventure 2, well, not as much Sonic Adventure 2, but definitely more Sonic Adventure 2, excuse me. Sonic Adventure has like a really great like opening movie to get you hyped up. You get to the title screen and then same song plays. It just kind of gets you in the right mindset of like.
Oh yeah, the title screen that fucking blasts you with "Open Your Hearts" at the top of what the speakers can handle.
Exactly, and I think for that reason, like I think like the music, like it's, I mean obviously like I like the sequel soundtrack a little bit better, but you can't like take away for what this soundtrack, like it's the first go at it. It's the first, like, it's not only a major shift in gameplay, but it's also a major shift in just the sound of Sonic, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, the classics, when it came to that music style, were often, I don't know, New Jack Swing, I think the general genre was. You know,
I would just say B-Boops is the genre I'd go with.
It was Masato Nakamura from Dreams Come True, Nafumi Hataya, for the Japanese soundtrack of Sonic CD, or the crew working on Sonic 3 and Knuckles, including Michael Jackson. Yeah, you know, that was the general vibe back then. But the moment SA1 had music direction to Jun Sonoe, who was there since 3 and K, I mean, we got what is perhaps the most definitive sound for Sonic music, that god-tier guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a hot take, but
everything's a hot take these days. What are you on about?
So, Sonic Adventure, I think it's a good soundtrack, but I wouldn't put it in my top 10 Sonic soundtracks.
Yeah, fair. You have had a history of generally liking more orchestral soundtracks rather than ones that lean more towards the guitar.
I mean, it's not that I don't like guitar soundtracks, because
I mean, I never said you didn't like guitar.
Like, yeah, I'm a sucker for orchestral, but like it's not just favoritism, because Shadow is one of my favorite soundtracks in Japanese.
Ooh.
But what I mean is that like some of these songs just, when I'm listening to them in gameplay, yeah, they're good in gameplay, but what makes a great Sonic soundtrack for me is like I can enjoy them outside of the game as well, and Sonic Adventure doesn't do that all that well for me. There's like some exceptions, like Be Cool, Be Groovy, Ice Calf, that's like my favorite Sonic Adventure song, excluding vocals.
I mean, you know, you'll be happy to know that it's an unlockable song for the Casino Park racetracks in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing.
And that is why Sonic racing games are goated. But Be Cool, Be Groovy. The first song in Red Mountain, I don't know what it's called, but that one I like.
Mount Red, a symbol of thrill.
Yeah. Speed Highway, obviously, that's another contender. Like, they're good songs. Lost World even has amazing songs. Even Final Egg. But some of them I just won't listen to outside of the game.
I will say that, you know, I'm not really too big on the general songs of Casinopolis.
That lobby music bops, though. The lobby music in Casinopolis bops.
I mean, yeah, that's good for lobby music, but that's like one part of the OST I just don't really go back to. Partially because, well, I'm just not really a big fan of that specific kind of genre.
Also, I don't like Tails' vocal song or Amy's vocal song.
Oh yeah, Believe in Myself and My Sweet Passion, nah man, all the vocal things are hits. Although I do have to raise an eyebrow at certain vocal choices for some of these songs, like Unknown from ME having I Get It On by Myself near the end, alongside My Sweet Passion having This Sphinx looks so cute, I had to shave it. And I'm just like, hello? but then again, this is the same game where the Japanese version, and restored with better SDX, thanks Knuckles' Casinopolis as a sexy cowgirl prop up at the top of the room that moans when you touch it.
I will say, Unknown Me has the best jazz solo in any song I've ever heard. That jazz solo just pops off. I love it. Yeah,
the sax solo in Unknown from ME has, you know, an absolute bliss to the ears.
But yeah, Sonic Adventure, good soundtrack, but not one of my all-time favorites for Sonic.
I will say this about the soundtrack. When it comes to Sonic music kind of in general, but specifically the adventure games, there are tracks that like in the moment kind of slap. Like you'll be playing, for me it's particularly like Knuckles' themes especially, but like you'll play it in the thing, and then like you'll hear it, and you'll be bobbing your head and weaving while you're playing. But like, I think there is like some of them where I would just be like, I don't know if I would like necessarily put this on like in the car ride home or something like that, you know? And like, I don't know if that necessarily means it's a bad soundtrack because, like, again, in the moment, it fits tonally.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's my perspective on this. If a soundtrack could generally sound good in the moment, I would say that's definitely passable. If you want it to reach actual whole legend status, that shit's gotta stick with you to the point where you'll listen to it at a drop of a goddamn hat, which for me is a major measuring stick with Sonic OSTs, given that, for me at least, they set the goddamn standard. And well,
I mean,
Adventure 1 does end up excelling in this, because, you know, while I may not listen to, say, anything from Casinopolis, most of the other songs of the soundtrack are ones I'll happily listen to regardless. The game's even got the best invincibility theme out of every Sonic game. So, you know, there's that.
I would also say that, like, although it doesn't, like, there's no Sonic game that holds, like, my personal favorite soundtrack of all time, like, consistently across, like, obviously not counting a game like Smash Bros. Where it's just, like, a collection of music from every franchise and stuff. It's probably, like, it's probably, like, up there as, like, top 3, if not number 1, just, like, consistently for music as it goes, you know, as the series continues. Like, obviously, this isn't really focused on Sonic Adventure, but, like, just in general, like, I think Adventure really, really, like I said, you only get one chance at a first impression, so it really set the bar, like, ridiculously high for music going forward. And, like, to be fair, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not lived up to that standard. I thought some of the music in the later games is also really, really good, but that's just besides the point. Sonic Adventure, good soundtrack.
Yeah. Okay.
Good music.
Yep. Okay, now we can talk about the actual game. Let's start with Sonic's campaign. So,
well, we might as well, since it's the meatiest first of all of them, and of course the one you're given access to at the start. Let's see now. Oh, obligatory. Oh yeah, this is happening.
Oh yeah, this could be fun. But
yeah, you know, Sonic, like the main man of the show. Oh, the one character people seem to want to actually play as, you know, prior to when people started giving shit about multiple characters again. And, you know, with him nailing his control and general feel was pretty much the make it or break it of SA1. Everything else in the game could have been the finest in all the land, but if this dumb blue rat didn't play well, the game would have been a flop, plain and simple. So, suffice to say, I mean, Sonic in SA1 plays damn well and is pretty faithful to the classics. You've got, you know, you're running, you're jumping, you're spin dashing, your momentum action platforming, and a brand new ability known as the homing attack. You remember Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, that's 3D Blast for the Americans, and listening to this. That's how there was a yellow shield that allowed Sonic to home in on his enemies, which made getting the flickies much less of a pain in the ass. Someone at Sonic Team looked at it and thought, hey, that would actually be really good for a 3D game to having his starting moveset, and, well, that's that. That homing attack helps make sure that Sonic can actually, you know, hit stuff like, you know, enemies, item capsules, springs, takes a lot of the frustration out of the whole thing. But, you know, in terms of how he plays, I would honestly say that when isolating it down to the official material, this is the best controlling Sonic in 3D. Period. Like, just so smooth. You can make him go around in circles and even have that funny screeching sound effect with no issues whatsoever. It's peak, but you know.
I mean, of course you have to say official, because PO6 is the best controlling Sonic game.
Well, I mean, I don't have to play it.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
As I was saying, you know,
when you play it, Snackugo,
Sonic,
you will change your mind.
He generally plays how you'd expect him to when going from the classics next to a 3D title. All physics are in proper order. just in general, he plays so damn well. Oh, my issue with, say, Mario and Mario 64, to bring this as an immediate point of comparison, is that Mario in that game felt pretty damn stiff. I felt like he had a little too much weight, and I know he's fat, but that's besides the point. I think that man can jump for days, so I shouldn't be feeling a lot of stiffness with him. But regardless, Sonic, I think, is just smooth. Oh, like, in general. Oh, the only gripe some may have with his controls is how flowy his jumps can be, but I at least do appreciate that that can be good for getting your bearings on platforming, and combined with the spin dash, you can get some major fucking airtime. And oh yeah, let's talk about the spam dash. The spin dash is ridiculously broken, and now that it's mapped out to its own dedicated button and can be activated on a whim, Sonic can absolutely blitz through stages if given any opportunity. And it can lead some pretty fun and speedrunning opportunities, of which there are plenty. Like, say, skipping a small chunk of Emerald Coast right near the beginning, going up the ramp, and, just going to the part how it has the loop-de-loop instead of having to go around. Or, making large, risky jumps over the lava pits inside Red Mountain. And there's a lot of potential with it. So while I do think it was a little out of control, I would say that, Sonic's base moveset in SA1 really damn good, and it speaks volumes that, despite all the problems that both Sega and Sonic Team were facing around this time, and the fact that transitioning a character as fast as Sonic to 3D was a naturally daunting task, the fact that they pulled it off borderline perfectly is nothing to scoff at. Not at all.
So, personally, before I recently played this, I would say that Sonic's campaign would be, like, if it was just Sonic's campaign, it would be a 10 out of 10, like, the best Sonic game.
Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention, Sonic's upgrades.
Oh god.
This is where Sonic just kind of falls... It's the one area where Sonic's playstyle falls flat, because this game was not only the introduction of the homing attack, being a standard ability, but it was also where we got it's the debut of the light speed abilities, the light speed dash and the light speed attack, and, well, the light speed attack needing to be charged up, I can, accept that, because it's supposed to be super powerful, but the fact that you have to charge up the light speed dash just feels like a bit of a pace breaker, especially when you've had so much experience in the later titles that it's in, where it is just something you can do at the press of a button, and occasionally to mix results, but, that's besides the point. To be fair, on the game, no, it's not like you actually need to light speed dash super often, so, yeah.
Lightspeed dash is mostly just a shortcut opportunity more than, like, an actual mechanic.
The spin dash is a better shortcut opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we haven't actually gone into, okay, Aidan's already said that, at one point he thought that if Sonic's campaign was the only thing you had at an SA1, it would be a 10 out of 10, but we should probably save that for when we've gone through all the other characters.
Well, what I was trying to say was that I used to think that, but after this playthrough, there were a lot more problems I took note of in this playthrough. Because, what I love about Sonic, because what made Sonic fun in the levels I like in this game was that it has, like, a great flow to it. Or, like, there's many, like...
The flow is definitely a major high point of the game's good levels.
Also, if you're going to transition Sonic to 3D, you need to, like, keep what made the classic game so replayable, and that's the different pathways. Like, different options.
Branching pathways. And, this game definitely does have that accounted for, both intentional and unintentional, like how in in the beginning of Ice Cap, you could just use the spin dash to launch yourself over to the end of the first section, skipping over most of that part of the level. And then you can do it again. And in the second section where you could just press, spin dash off of a surface to get very high up and then just hit the switch to get the icicles to drop and then go for a round of snowboarding.
But, the levels I would say are consistently good in Sonic's campaign are Emerald Coast, Ice Cap, Twinkle Park, Speed Highway, Red Mountain, parts of Lost World, and Final Egg.
Yeah, I would say that Sonic's level selection is pretty good overall, Well, 10 levels total, the largest out of any of the playable characters, Emerald Coast, Windy Valley, Casinopolis, Ice Cap, Twinkle Park, Speed Highway, Red Mountain, Skydeck, Lost World, and Final Egg. Most of them are good. It's just that, well, I feel like Sonic's early game kind of dips after Emerald Coast when it comes to level count. Like, Emerald Coast, pretty solid opening level, absolutely iconic. Windy Valley, it's good in the first section, the tornado bit. That is nice, but the moment you get to the third section, it just feels like you're kind of on autopilot for most of it. And it is pretty boring on repeat playthroughs. Those, Casinopolis, you have to go playing pinball tables for, gain up 400 rings so you can reach the Chaos Emerald at the end and the stage, and you're better off not really interacting with the pinball tables all that much, because the sewer section that you fall into, if you end up failing to get at least 100 rings at a pinball table, that's got practically all the rings you could ever need, or at least the vast majority, and then you can just scrounge up the rest in the lobby. Ice Cap, I also feel, just kind of falls flat the moment you start realizing that it's super easy to skip over all but the snowboarding, which is ultimately a kind of an automated segment. Unless you're doing the missions in SADX, and then those ones become an absolute fucking nightmare. Here, I'd say it's when Twinkle Park is at your doorstep, is when Sonic's levels really hit their stride.
Twinkle Park is the best stage to fucking speedrun in Sonic Adventure. I will have no other options.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like the stream of levels from Twinkle Park to Red Mountain is just massive hits back to fucking back. Like, Red Mountain, out of all the games in the vanilla SA1, is probably my favorite, just because of the sheer amount of options you have in the first section. And then you get inside it, and then you get Red Hot Skull kicking in, and setting off a great vibe almost immediately, and the interior itself still provides some good opportunities to skip over chunks of it if you're skilled enough, which, mind you, sometimes requires that you have to just innately know the level design, because you'll be flinging yourself into an unfavorable camera angle, which can screw you over if you don't know it inside and out, but absolutely great. That said, special shoutouts to Beta Windy Valley, was stored into the game via a mod, where it feels like probably the most faithful level when it comes to a transition from the classics, thanks to 3D. Hey, the multiple pathways thing is in a goddamn abundance. And to the point where it feels like a mini open world in some sense, and I won't lie, the scale of it is damn impressive. Not to mention, you don't end up going on autopilot in that final section. Like, everything it's done to perfection in it, outside of some, literal bumps in the road, but I have no idea why that wasn't made available in the final product.
I think we should let Snackugo talk for a minute, because...
I mean, I'm honestly, I'm waiting to hear all the criticism, because honestly, it's very hard for me to be critical of the Sonic playthrough. I think it's amazing. I love all the levels. I love the music, even the points that, because like I said, this is the first Sonic game I ever played, right? So there's a huge bit of bias and nostalgia hitting me here, right?
No shit, you've got bias. You're a human being.
And I really just think it captures when I think of Sonic, I don't think going left to right. I think of Sonic Adventure 1 Emerald Coast. Like that's the first thing I think of when I think of Sonic.
Yeah, you know, Emerald Coast just did
it's like one of the best
job.
introductory level. It is one of the best first levels in video games, in my opinion. Like that is a very
that
high
is
praise.
quite a high bar. But I would honestly say that when it comes to 3D Sonic levels, Emerald Coast is absolutely one of the best when it comes to Sonic First Impression.
Well, think about it, right?
So much so that it got to be SA Run's level rep for Generations 3DS, which is how I first experienced Emerald Coast.
I would say this, ready? Just as an example, when you think of like the first area in a lot of games that like, and like, you know, there are franchises that are not like Sonic's, franchises similar to Sonic. You look at every first level, other than Bomb on Battlefield, there's not really many you could think of as like, oh yeah, this is like, it teaches you everything you need to know about what you're going to experience in the game. Obviously you get new abilities later, but just the basic mechanics of how to move around that's why I think it's one of the best, like starting, like I wouldn't imagine I can't imagine Sonic Adventure being as good as I think it is without a level like Emerald Coast being the first level you play through. And it kind of just
it's not the first bit of gameplay you actually experience in Sonic's story.
You fight Chaos.
Yeah, if SA1 went for one hell of a ballsy move by having a boss fight be the first thing you experience. Truly was the Dark Souls of platformers, I swear to God. But you know, Chaos Zero is also actually kind of a really easy boss fight, so you know, it's easier in, and also deliver one banger of a boss theme on top of that. So clearly, it's there to make one striking first impression, and you know, Chaos Zero and Emerald Coast back to back does a great job of opening the game up.
Yeah, like you know what I meant. Like Emerald Coast is obviously like it's the first actual level of the video game. Like obviously in Mario 64 you have the castle, but the first real level is Bomb on Battlefield. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I would say that if I had one major criticism when it comes to Sonic's campaign, two things rather. One, not big on Sky Chase and becomes doubly offensive when you gotta play both acts of Sky Chase again in Tails' campaign, and this is more of a general problem with the game as a whole, in my opinion, but I'm not actually given a lot of incentive to properly master the levels outside of, you know, just simple curiosity, I guess, because here's the thing, Sonic Adventure 2 onwards, ranking system, we're all familiar with this. SA1 doesn't actually have anything like that. You'd be fooled into thinking it is with the whole C, B, and A mission tiers, but the thing is that a lot of these, higher mission tiers are a little too easy to achieve. Like, for example, getting 50 greens and practically every stage in Sonic's campaign, not really an issue. Sometimes I have a problem where I have like over 300 rings in certain stages, and I'm just like, and this is supposed to be a challenge, how? And some of these, time attack missions for the A rank stuff, they also seem to be a bit too lenient. For example, Emerald Coast, I'm bringing that one up a lot today. I swear to God. I can get the B and A mission requirements done and on the first run through. But in another problem I have with SA1, even if you manage to meet those requirements on an earlier mission for a given level, you are not going to be awarded the emblems for that. You still gotta go for that stage multiple times to get every emblem associated with a C, B, or A mission. So yeah, there's no actual ranking system, which to me feels like kind of essential to actually get the player to be motivated to try and get better at the game.
I think we could go further into that when we talk about Sonic Adventure 2, which introduces the ranking system.
Yeah, but point is that it's one of the reasons why I don't replay SA1 all that often. There's just not really any reason to, other than seeing like how many more rings I can hoard for a given stage, which I don't know. Doesn't really seem all that appealing.
So, I have criticisms with this. I have more criticisms on this playthrough. I don't like the. Okay, so upgrades. I like them in concept.
Oh yeah, the upgrades. I actually really do like the idea of finding upgrades in the hub worlds. And while some of them are required, and in order to be able to proceed, right, there's also the occasional optional one too. Like, take Sonic for example. The Crystal Ring thing inside, the Station Square Hotel. Oh, you don't ever need to get it, but you should, because it actually cuts down on charge time for the light speed abilities. So therefore, it's borderline essential.
I feel like that upgrade should have been part of the mandatory ones, because...
I mean, to be honest, it's not an ability required to progress, unlike the Lightspeed Dash, where there's actual plenty of times in end levels after Casinopolis where it is a required ability. And the Lightspeed attack, well, I mean, you can't destroy the monkey in the cage blocking access to Red Mountain without it.
Like, I don't hate upgrades. I hate how I have to recollect them on subsequent playthroughs.
I don't like.
I like the mobility. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of a pace breaker on recent playthroughs.
Oh.
The Lightspeed Dash kind of fucking sucks. Like, I hate that you have to charge it, and then Sonic has to say "ready," and then you have to activate it. I just like walking up to it and then pressing the button and just doing the thing.
So
that really is how it should have been from the start. But
first try blues, right? First try blues. You give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, it obviously works. It's just that like,
and
we're so used to just pressing a button to just move.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold them over their heads because one, that'd be an extremely petty and stupid thing to do. And also, they did nail everything they needed to with Sonic, so it can be forgiven. It is.
My second major criticism, the bosses.
Sonic games and bosses, most...
Now, there is an exception to the rule. Chaos 6 slaps. Like, that's
Chaos 6, I think, is actually pretty good in concept, but the moment you find out that a Lightspeed attack and maximum heat Knuckles attack can just two-shot the Baza, it's like, well, this is just yet another formality. I do think the Egg Viper's pretty dope, though.
But that leads to my criticism. Sonic bosses in the Sonic's camp are just these campaigns in general. They're either too easy or too janky.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah,
fair.
Like when I was
the Egg Viper's the only real challenge for most of the game. Hey, when it comes to the boss fights, if I'm being real here, like Chaos Zero's the first boss, and the first bit of gameplay at that. So I'm not expecting him to be in any way difficult, other than to a toddler. But then the Egg Hornet shows up, and then you can just mash the homing attack when he decides to be all like, all systems, full power, and you absolutely destroy him in one go just by mashing that ability over and over. And then there's Knuckles. Oh no.
I will say, Chaos 4 is probably the worst boss in the game.
Oh god.
3 times.
And there's no change between any of those encounters at all. Chaos 6, at the very least, changes things up on every encounter, like, in Sonic's campaign. And it's, just the arenas as it is. Eggman chucks down on ice bombs every time he says, aha! Knuckles has the ice bombs occasionally dropping in, but now parts of the arena are destroyed, presumably from Sonic's scuffle with the Fiend. And with Big, you gotta fish out Froggy.
But I was gonna say, like, with Chaos, with Egg Viper, I would say it's a good boss. But on this playthrough, it was very jank. I saw most of the jank, because, near the end, when he sends those circular platforms towards you and you have to jump on them to attack him, sometimes the homing attack would miss and I would fall to my death.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Never had that issue, personally.
It happened twice, and another time, Eggman, when he did his desperation.
Watch out, he's up to something.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, that one's actually kind of pretty easy. To really to avoid. Like, sometimes he won't even destroy a platform, he'll just bounce right off.
But in this one, I was on a completely... he went in, I went on a different platform, but instead of destroying the platform it was on, destroying the platform I was on.
I'm just gonna assume you pissed off some random deity.
Well, I don't believe... Well, I'm an atheist, so who knows?
I mean, so am I, but for all we know, there are deities, and they're just listening on this and being like,
Sonic gods are
what are these
upset.
mortals on
The
about?
Sonic gods are upset that I gave Sonic Frontiers an 8 out of 10.
What was the in Shadow the Hedgehog? What's the bad guy called? I've never
Black
played that.
Doom.
Black Doom. He's got to be some sort of being. Some sort of higher power in this universe.
I mean,
Well,
but
yeah.
I will say Sonic levels fun to speedrun. I have been learning the speedrun strats for these, and I could beat Casinopolis in like less than 30 seconds. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, that's an out of bounds trick you do there. It's actually really handy for the A mission in particular, because you gotta beat that stage in 4.5 minutes. Sounds generous until you realize you gotta scrounge up 400 rings, which does take a bit, even with the sewers in mind.
But other than that, I'd say Sonic's campaign overall is like an 8 out of 10.
I mean, I'm not really one to give scores and tiers. It's just, something for fun. And I just think that Sonic's campaign, when it comes to a lot of individual campaigns in a series, I think is definitely one of the best. The early game does fall down a bit, but the moment when you get to Twinkle Park, everything's pretty much smooth sailing from there. Maybe except for Skydeck for some, but otherwise, it's pretty damn solid. And the same goes for the story part of the campaign as well.
I don't really think about the stories in the Sonic Adventure games besides 2.
Well, I mean, there's only 2 Sonic Adventure games. Unless you're willing to accept that 06 is adventure-free!
Well, I meant when I say adventure games, I meant the adventure formula from Adventure to 06.
I mean, okay. Anyways,
Yeah,
for Sonic's story, I do feel like it does nail, pretty much everything you'd expect from his character, Obviously a bit, cocky whenever encountering Eggman, but you do see that he's generally just a pretty chill dude who does have a bit of a thing for her adventure. And despite all the sass and trading barbs and whatnot, he does genuinely hate what Eggman's end goal usually ends up being, and will stop up at nothing to make sure that everyone's freedom is preserved and Eggman doesn't destroy Station Square to build Robotnik Land, the ultimate city where he will rule it all.
Especially with his floating masterpiece, the Egg Carrier.
But it pales in comparison to the powers of chaos.
God, Eggman is so fucking quotable in this game.
I think that in general, the entire fucking game is quotable, but yeah, back to the whole, they needed to nail this on the first try. I think that also applies to Sonic's character, and yeah, just across the board, they got it down. General writing in his story for his character is pretty solid. And, the voices provided by, Junichi Kanemaru, who still voices the Blue Rat to this day, alongside Ryan Drummond. They both did a pretty good job. Ryan Drummond definitely could be a little exaggerated with Sonic, on occasion, but this was ironed out for Adventure 2. Would still say he did a pretty good job here. Sonic's campaign also isn't really too heavy on actual story, which, for those who just want to play him and not really think about the fact that the game wants to tell a deeper story, that most of a platformers at a time, that's also good. But it does throw in some breadcrumbs. It's like Eggman's grandest scheme and the flashback at the end of Lost World where Sonic and gets his first glimpse at the aftermath of the tragedy of Angel Island. But, it's pretty much more of a basic Sonic vs. Eggman thing, just given a little more zest.
I think since we have more games, it's kind of like, I guess maybe even subconsciously, we kind of compare them to that. But if you put yourself in the mindset like that, this was the first one, pretty solid, pretty good, for me, like the first time is always the most special, right? So like Ryan Drummond is like, that's the first time Sonic really had a voice. And yeah, he's not perfect. Nobody is, but he like at least nails the spirit of what Sonic should be.
Yeah.
Other than that, I kind of agree with you guys on the story.
Why a lot of people tend to be a little passionate about, the whole voice cast changes that the series has gone through, despite it being a singular continuity. I mean, a lot of the characters, when given their first real voices in the adventure games, that set this goddamn standard. And Ryan Drummond absolutely set one hell of a standard for Sonic.
Oh yeah.
So
I would also, but I think we should move on because I don't have all day, unfortunately.
He has like 58 minutes before he has to go.
Yeah, so you guys will keep going, but keep going.
So unless we don't have anything else to say about Sonic's campaign, I guess we can move
on.
Tails.
Oh yeah, actually just one other thing, and this is a bit of a general story criticism, for a lot of times in cutscenes, character themes will just start playing, and the amount of times I hear it doesn't matter. Whenever Sonic is simply on screen, it's ludicrous. It's like, bro, turn off the boombox.
After a depressing scene with Amy and the bird, da 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 da. But okay, so I think we should actually move on now. Tails' campaign, Tails is boring.
Yeah, like, I'm just gonna cut to the chase here. Tails' actual story, when it comes to the plot, it's really good character development for the character to come out of Sonic's shadow and, be his own hero, which, is something that is highlighted the moment the two are separated. After a flashback, which, well, some may raise an eyebrow at the fact that it takes place in the Mystic Ruins, I do find it charming in how they choose to depict past events using the in-game assets. It's really nice, but yeah. Tails' character arc of learning to be more independent, which has end up showing in its end results quite well in SA2, pretty damn solid. And especially when he has to go up Eggman is most pissed. Like, remember when, Tails beat him to the missile and Eggman was like, away before I make mincemeat out of you. Like, oh shit.
That was really good. That was really good. That was like almost spot on. I thought I was playing the game for a second. I just want to point that out.
Just side note, Dean Bristow fucking killed as Eggman, but back to Tails, the character arc, really solid, and a major reason why people, grew a deeper appreciation for Tails and got really pissed when, a lot of later games would start, dialing back on this, namely starting from 2010. In terms of the actual gameplay itself, here's the good. Tails is very faithful to how he played in, the classics. X controls pretty damn well, just like Sonic. Speed Highways also a pretty fun level, since it has provide some actual design built with his flight in mind, and Beta Windy Valley works pretty well with it. That's it! Tails fucking snaps his levels into for the most part, and that's just that damn flight. Especially as you get the jet anklet, which, mind you can get as soon as the campaign starts. It's to the point where you can just hit the flight function in original Windy Hill and just let Tails fall for most of it, as long as you know what a goal generally is, because you'll be able to beat Sonic no problem whatsoever. It's to the point where outside of Ice Cap, because it's stuck in a snowboard, the even faster Sonic theme for the A missions means fuck all, because the challenge does not change. You are still overpowered.
You're going so fast as Tails that the Sonic AI is actually rubber banding. Like that's how.
Yeah,
like,
that bastard
Yeah.
has to chaos control just to catch up to you.
But also
Also, the back-to-back mini games of Sky Chase Act 1, Sandhill, which Green Hill's looking a lot more like, and Sky Chase Act 2, it's like, no. Like, I don't want to repeat the Sky Chase things, and we already did the snowboarding thing with Ice Cap. Though I will say, it's kind of funny that they include the Sandhill, because they found out that sandboarding was a famous, like, oh shit, that's pretty cool, we should throw it in.
I mean, sandboarding is pretty cool.
But yeah, besides that, I think that Tails, out of the lesser half of the campaigns, he's the best. To me, I guess. But that's only because he just innately feels fun to control by himself. But yeah, getting to the best part of his campaign requires sifting through shit that's borderline brain dead.
Yeah, Tails, his story is good, though his acting's not good.
Tails didn't get a good actor until Sonic X.
I would say, I agree. I think, like, some people have said that it's Sonic stages, but easier because he could just skip through all of it.
Sonic stages, but
kind of
easier is a fucking understatement.
Yeah, I would just say, like, at the end of the day, I don't think it's bad enough to ignore, but it's definitely not, like, the reason you play Sonic Adventure. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Also,
yeah,
Tails has...
I would. I'm gonna be real. If someone were to say it was in the better half of SA1 campaigns, that's probably because they just really like the classics. Thanks. But when you actually take a look at what you're playing, it's like, I'm sorry, Tails. They nailed his control, but the levels were not adjusted for it, except Speed Highway.
Except Speed Highway. Also, Tails doesn't have fun bosses either. Egg Hornet's not good. Chaos 4 is not good.
Egg Walker is a good idea in concept, but then you find out that it's actually really easy to get them to make you get a load of this, and then just you repeat that cycle. You can barely get an attack out that'll actually damage you.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about Sky Chase. Who here loves Sky Chase? Raise your hand. No one? Okay, cool. We all agree.
I mean, you can't even see our hands, but
you can't even see our hands.
You're right. You're
well,
right.
I don't need to see your hands. We all know it sucks.
I think we get the general gist of it. You know, Tails' campaign is honestly kind of the definition of mid, if I'm going to be real.
I was literally about to say the exact same thing. I was going to say mid is the perfect way to describe it.
The only thing worthwhile from it is that we hear about the, that chant about the servers are the 7 chaos, and, finding out that the Echidna will keep seeing a flashback thing to call, but besides that, it offers not very well. Oh yeah, speaking of that flashback, for some reason, you need to find a ribbon badge there, and it's the only upgrade that ever ends up being in a flashback segment, but, how about we just move on to the Rad Red?
Yeah, let's talk about Knuckles, aka the third best campaign in the game.
Same. Knuckles' campaign is pretty much where the plot is set into motion, with Eggman destroying the Master Emerald to free Chaos. And it's also in this campaign where we get to have quite a few more flashbacks, as, well, the main plot of SA1 overall is kind of tied to Knuckles' ancestry, and how even he's kind of curious about why he was given a job of guarding the Master Emerald, despite having no real reason to before.
Scott Dreyer's Knuckles. Probably the best Knuckles voice.
He wasn't actually Knuckles in this one.
Oh, really? Then who
it was... Let me just... Let's see,
Whoever does Knuckles in this game, they did a really good job.
I would say that he does sound a little too bored at times, but I'm willing to chalk it up to voice direction. He did provide a solid first voice for Knuckles. It's just that Scott Dreyer pretty much perfected him all. Let's see, his first voice actor was Michael McGahan.
I will say, the only thing they couldn't save of his voice was the pacing of his voice, because there's just like 15 seconds of pausing till the next voice.
And then it's the music while he's walking towards Eggman. Eggman just roasted him.
That's just, and the problem with SA1's story presentation in general, just the general pacing. Apparently, Knuckles' voice was supposed to be more like a general superhero. In earlier recordings, which apparently, oh no, is precisely from one of those original recordings, which explains a lot, really. Oh no. Yeah, I would say for nailing the more laid-back but tough side of Knuckles, Michael did a pretty good job.
I would say one thing that I really like about Knuckles' playthrough is I didn't imagine treasure hunting was going to be as fun as it was. Like, obviously it's rough now, right? You think about it now, SA2 obviously has better levels, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
But I think it just taking, because it's like the same thing, like you put Sonic stages, but how do you make them different? And obviously Tails doesn't really do that, but Knuckles really he really nails it.
You actually have to explore the levels to find the Master Emerald shards, and this is pretty good than, even on the first go. Oh, and for the more open spaces like Red Mountain, it works out pretty well. Where I feel it does kind of, drop down in quality a bit is the fact that it's really easy to get these shards pretty much back to back. It's not really the radar, that actually works pretty damn well. It's more so that for a more explorative direction, some of the levels Knuckles is given are pretty small and kind of boxed in, so it's not really long before you find them. It's why some of the A missions basically amount to get all the shards under 1 minute, and for most, it's pretty easy.
The only one I would say might be hard for A mission is Lost World, because your RNG might be bad. No, your RNG might be bad because this happened to me. There's this one fucking water robot. I forgot what they're called. But there's one on the water. It won't fucking show up on my end, and I'm just waiting for it to show up for literal minutes.
I feel like Red Mountain and Skydeck aren't really harder, purely because Red Mountain's far more spacious, and Skydeck has the gimmick of having to tilt the ship.
I don't think Skydeck's all that hard. Red Mountain.
I'm specifically talking A missions.
Yeah, I know. I understand. It's I don't think Sky Chase is all that hard. Red Mountain can be hard at moments, but I still think Lost World, depending on RNG.
But yeah, on a note of transitioning characters onto the 3D, Knuckles also works really damn well. Gliding, climbing walls, it's pretty much what you've come to expect. And I just wish that there were a few more open levels to really take advantage of this, because the freedom you have in Red Mountain, it's unsurpassed. What about you, Snackugo?
I mean, it's kind of, you guys recently replayed the game. I've just been busy with life, so I can't think of any off the top of my head. I just kind of like moving. I've always found moving around as Knuckles is the most satisfying thing, probably. Obviously not compared to Sonic. You're there for Sonic, but for what you're doing, it's just fun to just kind of because he feels just as fast, but not really. Climbing on walls is cool, and for some, I like exploring just to see what's on the other side or something like that, or I can't reach up there as Sonic, but as Knuckles, I can reach up there. I should probably go up there and check what's going on. So it's kind of cool to just get lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just going to vibe in the hub worlds, I'd say that Knuckles is
exactly. If I want to catch a vibe, Knuckles has my back.
My only problem with Knuckles' control is, the shovel claw. The fact you have to press the jump and attack buttons at the same time it isn't always the best. As SA2 just perfected this by just having the digging just be something you map to the same button as the punch, but have it be instantaneous when you're in the air or just on a wall.
I feel like the shovel claws aren't very well used overall.
Yeah, that's actually the other thing. The only time I ever feel they're explicitly required are for blowing up some monkeys in cages. It's always about the robot monkeys. I swear to God, they get the short end of the stick here, and also just to find at least one shard of Red Mountain. But after that, yeah, they kind of feel underutilized. And the same applies to the maximum heat knuckles attack from the fighting gloves. That was covered in piss yellow. It's only really good for 2-shot Chaos 6.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in terms of expanding the lore and examining Knuckles' character, his story is pretty good, and on the gameplay side of things, it's a pretty interesting formula on concept that I do feel is taken to new heights, but it's later on, but it's pretty good as is here, just could have been a tad better.
That's what I feel about most of these other gameplay styles. Like they're good, but they need to be ironed out in the next games.
Yeah.
Hey.
Anyway, Snackugo, I am ready to hear because you've been telling me about this character you are excited to talk about. Tell me what you think of Amy.
So I was ready to come in here and just say, yeah, Amy sucks. Amy's boring.
Oh my god.
But I have to say, man, I was thinking about it, and this is some of the little bit I did play that we started. I specifically went to Amy because I just wanted to just validate what I was gonna say, and not to say that she's the best or anything, because she's not. I would still even take Tails, even though Tails is technically broken. It's just more that I would say, while she is on the lower end of the totem pole, I don't think she's as bad as people think. She can get momentum going downhill, and then hitting the hammer on the ground while you jump and doing the front flip. That's always fun, right? I don't think
for some reason she also picks up speed greatly when going upstairs. The more you go up some of the stairs in Hot Shelter, it's just holy shit, she's going fast.
Exactly. And so I think there are a lot of problems with her. I think she's slow. I don't think the stuff you're doing in her levels is super fun.
I think Amy's a lot more of a basic platformer compared to, everyone else.
It feels more out of place than it actually being this awful gameplay style. You could take that, put it in another game, and it would fit another platformer, and it would fit just fine.
I feel like Amy works on concept. I'm of the personal belief that a character who isn't the main protagonist can work as well as long as it's executed well. That's probably why Spyro 3 is my favorite Spyro game. But I feel with Amy, I don't hate the idea of slow-paced platforming and puzzles. The puzzles are the problem. There are very few puzzles, and when there actually is a puzzle, you can just... It's
piss easy. In fact,
yeah, exactly.
Here's my general issue with Amy's story on the gameplay level. 1, only 3 stages. That's the lowest out of any character. In fact, I'm just going to be blunt right now. Most of her story is just cutscenes, and... Well, cutscenes. Maybe for Side of Hedgehog Hammer. But, I think what helps Amy's stages stand out a bit more is that all of them, and I do mean all of them, have unique sections that no one else goes through, and that does help quite a bit, and even has some cool set pieces like, the mirror halls of Twinkle Park, or, Zero on the big screen in Hot Shots, only to bust through for a jump scare.
That didn't scare me as a kid.
Oh yeah, also I guess that was my Zero is also really easy to avoid. The whole gimmick of Amy's gameplay is that you're supposed to be running away from this robot. Imagine the SAX of Metroid Fusion, but it always followed you and was actually piss easy to evade.
Yeah. I just think there are problems. Protector just listed one of them, and she is just kind of slow, and like Protector said, it's more of a basic platformer than a Sonic 3D platformer. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just feels kind of out of place, but I don't think it is, wow, you have to play as Amy, this sucks, you know what I mean? There is some enjoyment to be had where I don't, there is one playthrough where it's just what are we even doing in here? There is one campaign in this game, it's what are we even doing here?
I mean, yeah. I will say, though, Amy's campaign does have one major positive, and that, well, like Tails, it's got a pretty solid character arc about how Amy trying to be more of her own hero. Only it's more, poignant, I guess, because Tails was always fairly competent, even when he was Sonic's sidekick, but Amy was introduced as a damsel, and even in Adventure 1, she's clearly living more of a civilian life from the start, and does actively miss, her being with Sonic. So, as fate would have it, that she gets hit by a flicky that's being chased by Zero, otherwise known as E100 Alpha, and she takes up on herself to protect the birdie. From that point onwards, that's when she does get kidnapped by a carrier. We do actually see another core aspect of her character, her strong empathy, being what breaks through the Gamma, alongside another thing that we'll get into in his campaign, and that not only convinces him to let her out, but also, that same empathy is what stops Gamma from being turned into scrap metal by Sonic. And stops Sonic from getting shot in the fucking head in Gamma's version of events. And it's after that point where she really does decide to just to help the Flicky find its family. And when she does so, when Zero decides to try and knock the birdie out cold, she decides, enough is enough, I'm gonna whip out my hammer and I'm going to beat the shit out of this stalker, and does so pretty easily if you know how you're doing. And afterwards, when everything's all said and done, she decides, you know what, I'm gonna be my own girl. I'm gonna make Sonic respect me, and it's pretty admirable.
And by respect me, I mean go boy crazy over him.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that in later games, okay? I also, my problem with Amy's character arc is more so just what happens in SA2, where it feels like she's just there to be the tag-along comic relief, but we'll get to that. I will say, though, that Sonic Heroes does do a pretty good job on following up on this, where she is leading her own team to save Chocola and Froggy. And I won't lie, it's pretty cool to see that kind of growth, where she is becoming more of her own person, and seemingly taking quite a few more cues from Sonic than she might even realize, and it's pretty dope. Also, on the note of her voice, Jennifer Dooley, the best Amy. For me, no contest.
I agree.
I think I'm with you there.
I'm with you. I love the 4Kids cast. That's my
Lisa
Sonic,
Ortiz's Amy is... The voice is good. Characterization in a lot of the appearances has where Lisa Ortiz voiced Amy, not so much.
I was gonna say 4Kids cast, that's my cast, but Amy is the one except. But I would replace the 4Kids Amy with Adventure Amy. I think that's the Amy voice.
Cindy Robinson does generally do a good Amy voice starting from Boom now, so
Or I could meme with Snackugo and just use the Frontiers Amy voice and direction.
Dude, she lost her keys. She's still looking for them. That's what it is, dude. She dropped her keys and she can't find them.
I think we might want to have a dedicated. I think we might have already gone over this in the 2022.
We did.
But yeah, Jennifer Dooley really nails just who Amy is supposed to be. Well, obviously she's a bit hot-headed, as we've seen time and time again, but she's also just a generally peppy kind of girl, who's definitely, the heart of the main cast, so to speak. And everything about that, yeah, Jennifer nailed pretty damn well on the first go. Thumbs up for me, at least.
So, overall, I think Amy is okay. She's not as bad as Tail.
If I had to give the campaign an objective score, I am constantly bouncing between a 5 out of 10 where it's playable but not that great, or a 6 where actually some bits of it kind of alright, just not really something I'd really go back to, but yeah.
I think she's the 5 to 6 out of 10. I'm with you there.
I'd give her. That's the thing is I thought we were gonna come in here and everybody was gonna dunk on her and wow, Amy sucks. That's what I was expecting.
Dude,
so that's why I was that's my hot take.
We actually we all actually like the idea of multiple playable characters. And it's just that.
Well, no, I know that, but I like the idea too. But there's again, there is one character on this roster that just I think shouldn't even be there.
Let's
I think
talk
we all
about
know the
it.
one.
Oh my Oh yeah.
Fuck
He's
Big the Cat.
Froggy.
Fuck Big the Cat, dude.
I mean, if you
He
want
sucks,
to,
dude.
if you want to fuck him, I'm not gonna judge. Out
Frank-
loud,
oh
anyways.
my god. Shut up.
Okay. Okay, I've done my little bit of trolling.
Okay.
And sorry to those who had headphones on.
I'm
But
wearing headphones.
Big the Cat is everything is wrong. Big the Cat sucks, dude. Big the Cat is the worst character in the game. At least with Amy, it feels like platforming. Like we haven't talked about this character yet, but like with
Gamma.
Gamma, yeah. Okay, I was gonna mix it up with Sonic
Omega.
Heroes. Yeah, Gamma. Here's the thing with Gamma, right? It's not really platforming, but like again, you're still going through Sonic's levels and they're slowed down and they're designed with that in mind. I like fishing mini games, I really do, but this fishing mini game is like really, really bad because it like
it's not
sometimes it
even
straight
a
up doesn't
mini
work.
game, no. That's
it took
the
me
thing.
until how. No, it's bad because you have to. Like, waiting's not the problem. It's when you're waiting for fucking Froggy to get on your fucking hook is the problem. And other fish can go on that hook as well. And
I'm going to be. I guess I'm going to provide something resembling a hot take, but while I do think Big is the absolute weakest, like, I think 5 out of 10 is the best he's ever going to get. But from me when it comes to SA1, but I would say that when you're just going for the main campaign, he's inoffensive. Like, the fishing, yes, it's kind of jank, but it doesn't take much effort to get Froggy fished in once you got him hooked. And you watch Big do his funny praise the Lord Jesus dance while he's saying, "Oh, know what I'm gonna do." You know, rinse and repeat until you fish Froggy out of Hot Shelter, and then you fish him out of Chaos 6 in the fastest boss fight known to man. It's so remember those B&A missions I brought up time and time again? Yeah.
No. Oh god. I hate those missions so much.
I think Big's gameplay is serviceable for just the main campaign. B&A missions, though, even when you've got all those lore upgrades, fuck them. Like, genuinely. It is, you spend most of your time trying to hook a fish, and then you gotta reel it in. Mind you, to get those, to beat those B&A missions, you need to make sure it's a certain weight, which guarantees they're going to have to go and get a big fish, which will take forever to reel in and can very easily snap up your line, costing you a life. And at times, you may not even get the weight you need. Like, you could have been putting in all that effort, and instead of a 2,000 gram fish at the very least, you get a 1,894 gram fish. Absolutely infuriating.
Like, Big as a character isn't bad. It's just that
I would say that his campaign is, I mean, Big story also feels just kind of there. Like, the character himself, I generally like his vibe, but Big's campaign is only really relevant because of Froggy swallowing in Chaos's tail, being possessed by that, and ingesting a Chaos emerald, and Big, who's just kind of lived life in the Mystic Ruins, is just desperately trying to get his best friend back. I think what also just makes Big's campaign kind of boring on the story part to me is that outside of one exception, I will note, there's not really anything in the way of notable character moments. It's just Big wants to get his friend back, and that's that. The only time where it feels kind of interesting is that when, after Hot Shelter and the flashback, when Big notices that the air carrier is about to crash, he notes that that he doubts anyone would be able to come to save him and Froggy, which indicates a bit of loneliness as from Big, and perhaps adds to why he's so adamant into trying to get Froggy back, because he doesn't want to lose his best and only friend. Which I can imagine his life took a turn for the better the moment Sonic just decided to show up and help him save Froggy for no reason other than it's the right thing to do, which probably would have eventually led to Big beginning to mingle in with Sonic's friend group more.
I mean,
but that's really it. And the rest of and everything after the whole Sonic showing up to help Big thing is purely headcanon from my point of view. Everything else, it's just there.
Big is like the most hashtag relatable character.
Yeah, man.
I don't know, dude. I don't fucking know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's like if there is one part of the game that I just straight up dislike. I mean, like, it's even kind of hard for me because, like Spectre said, he's just, you know, he's looking to save his buddy, his friend Froggy. So it's kind of hard for me to enjoy any of it because, like, I fucking hate that mini game. It's like I've always wanted to make a Sonic Adventure video, but the thing holding me back is like, shit, I gotta do Big's missions again, and if I like want to do the 100%, I gotta do I have to like A-rank all of them.
Okay, for a simple campaign playthrough, skill issue. For those B&A missions, however,
no, yeah.
I feel you, man. I fucking feel you. Like,
yeah, it's easy to get through in the campaign. It's just like it's still like tedious and fucking annoying. You know what I mean? Like it's not fun.
I also, on the note of those B&A missions, it feels like that's the only reason why most of Big stages actually, and by that I mean 3 out of the 4 of them, actually have expanded sections. Like, you know, Ice Cap has entire areas you do not visit as Sonic. Like, even housing the only character upgrade to be found in a stage in this game, one of the 4 lore upgrades. You know, Emerald Coast host alongside its stoner music. It has a cave that you can access underwater to find some extra fish. And then there's Hot Shelter where you can just literally fish a plug out of its hole to drain the water in another room and gain access to the inside of the aquarium. The Bad Taste Aquarium, as the OST would call it. It's judging from the name of the song, but you know.
The best thing about Big's campaign is his vocal song. It low-key kind of slaps.
Lazy Days, Living in Paradise is actually heard. And oh yeah, on the note of Lazy Days, Living in Paradise in particular, we actually got the demo version of that song in the compilation album True Colors, The Best of Sonic the Hedgehog Part 2, which I own, by the way. Just wanted to flex.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to flex. Feel free to flex.
But yeah, you know, like, that's noble, and I think the demo version's good, but, you know, obviously the final version is just how it should be. But yeah, you know, Big is just, it's glorified filler, and filler that isn't even all that great on its own. And I think that there were better ways of trying to implement fishing into SA1 if the Sega XX desperately wanted to put it in to show off their magical water graphics that a Dreamcast could pull off, but
water,
you know,
quotations.
The last thing I'll have to say about Big is that I feel like so much of the hate for the character was made purely because people didn't like the gameplay.
That's what it is for me.
I won't lie, it's just extremely fucking petty, especially when they, you know, decide to throw a hissy fit over his character being laid back, like, a little slow-minded. Though I wouldn't say Big is outright stupid. I mean, for fuck's sake, he could pilot a tornado too, just well enough to be able to make it head back to the Mystic Ruins safely. So, you know, you gotta give him props there.
Plus in Sonic Heroes, he can run pretty fast. But I will say...
Oh yeah, also...
There's nothing against him.
His fishing rod can blow up badniks by just simply bonking them. It's you know, truly something.
If you want...
It's not...
I would just say this. If you don't like Big's gameplay, just I recommend you read Big's story and the comics because they're really good. If you want, like,
the Archie comics,
both Archie and IDW.
I mean, Archie probably has an established backstory for Big. IDW just, you know,
IDW,
the game universe.
It's like during the Metal Virus saga, you get there's this side story for Big showing what happened to him during the Metal Virus arc, and
oh yeah, that's nice. Big's handled way better in later games. You know, Sonic Heroes, Sonic Chronicles. He outright breaks frontiers. Also, check the text.
Love it.
Yeah, for Aidan and Snackugo, check the text chat. But, funny thing about Big's campaign and any other campaign that features the FMV of the A carrier crashing, with the widescreen mod from Beta SDX, you can see these character models go outside the actual FMV itself. Take a look at this. But it's really funny. But yeah, Big's campaign. Here's the nicest thing I can say about it. It exists. Therefore it is.
It is a gameplay style that exists. It's still like a 3 out of 10 though.
I have nothing against Big. I have a mode set on my Amazon Alexa. Alexa, stop. My Amazon device that is, I say, let's go fishing, and it plays the fishing vibes from Frontiers, because that's one of my favorite songs from that game. And I love Big in that section. I think like it's nothing against him. I like playing as Team Rose in Sonic Heroes. He's great. It's just the fishing itself is just so like monotonous. It's so
it was boring. The one gameplay style that definitely did not land well.
Exactly. That's the only thing I have against.
It's presentable for the main campaign, as we said before, but when you go for those B&A missions,
they blow.
And somehow they did not convince me to give up on getting all emblems. That would be the Chao Garden.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, like I'm gonna have to do a run at some point, right? Because I've never gotten all the emblems in the game, but that's.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna get all the emblems, you might as well do it on Beta SDX, where you can unlock all the Game Gear games. We'll get to that later. But I think we've dragged on Big for long enough. I'm just gonna say this right now. Jack Specific, not too long ago, finally released a Big the Cat action figure, and outside of the lack of a fishing rod or Froggy, the action figure itself is one of the best they have made for the Sonic lineup. So I just really like having one, even if I ended up prioritizing Chaos Zero over it. And at first, Chaos Zero's also got an action figure too, and there's also an action figure of the Gold Chao that you can get by stealing an egg from the antique store in Station Square by using an egg-shaped rock to replace it, a la Indiana Jones. I ended up using that Gold Chao in my PS3 all emblem run, and named it Zack after Zack Fair. But I think we might want to move on to the real star of the show as far as the new OBs are concerned.
I was about to say, because we don't have that much time left.
Yeah, there is one other part I want to talk about before I head out, but other than that, yeah.
We have Gamma, Supersonic, and then that we just talk about our overall thoughts, and that's it.
Well, I'll miscellaneous stuff before the overall thoughts, but yeah. Gamma. The shooting gameplay, pretty solid. He controls pretty damn well. Love the hover, and it is pretty satisfying to lock onto multiple targets. That's fire them off and get a huge time bonus. And while his first two stages are very much a formality, to put it bluntly, it does get better starting from Windy Hill. Although, just a warning for those playing via Beta SDX and have the Beta Windy Valley mod installed. If you end up getting to Delta in Beta Windy Valley, make sure that he doesn't end up dying on the floating platform in the bottom left of the arena, because if he does, the game will soft lock and you won't be able to progress. You'll have to, hard reset the game just to be able to get another crack at it.
Low key.
But yeah, Red Mountain and pretty decent fun as Gamma, and his hot shelter is one of the best levels in the game, and practically the only time where the time limit actually feels like it matters.
Mm-hmm. The story is really good. It actually made me tear up, choke up a little bit.
Yeah, Gamma's story, just like Big's and the back half of Amy's actually, it is ultimately filler, but at the same time, it's really interesting to, actually experience the events of a Sonic game from the perspective of one of Eggman's own robots, who initially serves him without question, but gets shaken after seeing, his brother Beta get torn apart and then put back together into some sort of, what would be from a robot's perspective, some kind of fucked up monstrosity. And naturally, Amy's empathy, alongside seeing the Flicky up close and personal, does ultimately cause him to break Hank enough so that, he lets them out no problem. And after confronting Sonic, Amy does end up convincing him to stop serving Eggman, and after seeing that Eggman, and likely knowing that Eggman probably doesn't even give a shit about his own forces, that is all that much, given that he literally just beamed and free of Gamma's own siblings away, with one of them actively looking him in the eye, that being Delta, of course. Yeah, Gamma's just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I am going to save the animals inside my brethren, even if I must kill myself once I am done to fulfill all this mission unto the end. And yeah, he actually does ponder this after taking care of Zeta, only stopping on dwelling on that matter once he sees Beta. And when they ever end up fighting, while Gamma does come out the victor, Beta gets a critical shot in, and what comes next is actually pretty heart-wrenching. We see that the animal that was inside Beta was actually one of the relatives of Amy's Flicky, and it's there when Gamma puts two and two together, and, despite struggling to stay alive, finds out that ends up accepting that the Flicky's life is more important, succumbs to his runes and lets the bird free. Which, it's actually pretty bittersweet. Like, Gamma accomplished his mission. He genuinely acted through all of that for a genuinely noble cause, but at the cost of his own life, which, mind you, it wasn't even a long one at all. Made, and I do like that the cutscene score that plays during his death does really hammer this in. And his theme song, which isn't even a vocal theme, by the way, really does cement the tragic angle of Gamma and even his readiness to die, with the only vocals from that song you can make out being, "It's my pleasure, ready to die." So,
that was also really good.
Yeah,
that was also
Gamma
very
really
good.
hit the right notes with a lot of fans. Like, even if a couple of his early stages just felt mindless, everything else was done pretty damn well.
I'd say Gamma is really good. My second favorite gameplay style. But the bosses, aside from Beta, aren't that good.
Oh yeah, prior to Beta Mark II, here's the strategy for Gamma's bosses: mash the shoot button, you win. But yeah, Snackugo, what's your overall thoughts on Gamma?
I really was surprised that like the emotions there, kind of like right from the beginning. I don't know if it's like the very first cutscene, but there's a cutscene right in the beginning where Eggman's talking to all, the Gamma, Beta,
the elite egg carrier crew are here today to hear a very special announcement. Behold, it's a tailed frog, very unique.
Like it's maybe not that scene, or maybe it's the scene after that where he's getting
where he
then he looks at Beta and he's like,
all fucking up. Yeah,
that one right
all
there.
Fucking up, he disposes of them right then and there, instead of just letting them have a second chance.
And then Gamma looks at Beta as Beta's like getting flashed out of existence or whatever, and he's like, Beta, and that's where it hits for Gamma. And Gamma goes from being just a robot that is supposed to be programmed to destroy and whatever and find the frog. That's like where the emotion, quote unquote, shows up. Gameplay is like, it's like, obviously this is kind of like how, that's how the mech stuff works for Eggman and Tails. And too. And I love
on that note, I love that Gamma was kind of added, partially because a lot of American Sonic fans that were kids asked Sega to make a game where Sonic uses guns, and Sega Sonic Team was like, we'll just give this to an Eggman robot instead.
yeah. I mean, we obviously ended up getting that game later on. It didn't work out very well.
Well, we'll talk about that in the future. Don't worry.
But yeah,
I
Gamma
loved it.
The emotional second. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it second. I still would put Knuckles, but he's in the top three. He's in the top three for sure.
Yeah, Gamma is pretty good. And I do feel like his story and character really do a lot of the heavy lifting. The gameplay is pretty solid. If you really want, the SA1's story to excel in emotion, Gamma's pretty much where they hit it stride. And, even if the voice acting and cutscene presentation isn't everyone's cup of tea, the fact that Gamma's most notable moments still hit as hard as they do speaks for the quality.
Gamma, thumbs up from all of us.
Yeah, I know you wanted to talk about Supersonic and the ending and stuff, but we got to talk about the Chao Garden. The Chao Garden is like,
forget the Chao Gardens in this.
I'm going to be very brief here. The Chao Garden, it is good as a completely optional distraction. The single millisecond you decide to commit to getting all 130 emblems, which in the Dreamcast original got you jack shit, you are going to have to endure one of the biggest grinds for full completion ever heard to obtain to Sonic game. And I will say this right now, it's what caused me to give up on getting all emblems in SA1 on PS3 initially, and it's only when I got super bored at one point I decided to go back. And I did accomplish it. The fact that I have every trophy for SA1 speaks to that, but at the same time, I'm also half tempted to load up a fully completed save file on the Steam version just for the sake of being able to play as Metal Sonic wherever I want.
That's pretty sick. But I will say this, the Chao Garden is without a shadow of a doubt one of the best things Sonic has ever done in my life. Like in my opinion, because like you said, as an optional thing, it's just cool to slow down, you know what I mean? And not slow down in like, oh, you have to hold the controller back so you're not going to, like, it's nice to slow down and like kind of just like, you have a little pet that you can do. And it's like, I don't, like, obviously Sonic Adventure 1's Chao Garden obviously isn't the greatest. Like, I think they really nailed it in Sonic Adventure 2, but the fact it was as good as it was for the first try, like a fully interactive pet simulator, like, that's incredible, dude. It's incredible.
Yeah, that was a massive achievement on Sonic Team's end. Though they did already have prior experience with the A-Life system from Nights into Dreams, it doesn't. Yeah. It goes without saying that even implementing something like a pet simulator into Sonic Adventure was quite a daunting task, and it is pretty good. Though I can imagine the Dreamcast original was a lot more bare bones. SADX did have another improvement where you were given more options to the Chao Garden, like, namely the black market. But, although for some reason, the black market only allows you to hold one item at a time, unlike SA2 where you could buy up to like 5 fruits and then just deposit them in the garden of your choice. That's a no. I'll give points to SA1's Chao Garden system. I don't need to raise 2 Chao just to be able to have one for emblem hunting. Okay? Like, instead put all the eggs, things in one that I don't need in another Chao Garden hub. As you actually have teleporters that can get you to other Chao Gardens whenever you want. And, oh yeah, also, shoutouts to the Chao Garden on the egg carrier, where you have to access it by hitting the panels that spell out Eggman in the right order. Eggman has so much on that fucking egg carrier. Access to his own private island that functions as a Chao Garden, and a swimming pool, a bedroom, what appears to be some sort of, mini casino, and to quote PipLopFan77 in his SA1 review, you know what this place needs? A fucking aquarium. Yep, the absolute madman.
I don't have much to say on the Chao Garden because I keep on forgetting. Like I said, I keep on forgetting this is in the game.
Yeah,
I take the Chao Garden with SA2.
Yeah, I'd be a lot more positive on the Chao Garden overall if it wasn't the biggest grind fest in any given Sonic game when it comes to getting all the emblems. And to jump ahead to SA2 here, that's the reason I haven't even gotten all 180 emblems and experienced Green Hill in that game. It's that fucking Chao Garden. And I will say though, the Chao themselves are pretty damn adorable. Addition to the Sonic universe, and extremely versatile in their design, given how many variants there are, not only in the adventure games, but also in Sonic's Speed Simulator. And there's also plenty of merchandise for them, like plushies of Cheese the Chao and a Dark Chao, and they even own small action figures of the same Dark Chao from SA2, alongside, of all things, the Gold Chao from Sonic Adventure 1. They made an actual action figure of it.
We get it, Sonic has great merchandise.
So,
Well, I mean, it's just that the Chao aren't really something that are super utilized for their sheer versatility in this department, so I'm more amazed when we get something like the Gold Chao, which isn't even iconic like, you know, the regular Chao, Cheese, or the Lion Dog ones.
Or Omo Chao.
It's like, you know,
Die.
that's, for me, I know it's kind of like the boomer thing to say, like, oh yeah, go bring back the Chao Garden, but man, it's so, like, that is what I think Frontiers missed. And again, not to say Frontiers is this terrible game.
I guess the Coco would have
just been
been
nice
nice to raise, but
yeah, it would have, like, to slow down. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do everything on the island, or do X amount of things on the island, and then I want to go and bring some of the materials I've picked up and stuff like that. And, you know, like, there's a cool fan game that is literally just the Chao.
The Chao Garden, yeah, Chao Island Resort.
Chao Island Resort, and, like, obviously it's more in depth than like SA2's or SA1's Chao Garden, but, like, the fact that it's even there, absurd.
Just leave the Sonic.
I think the Chao Garden, the Chao Garden would work really well as a mobile game. Sega, you're sitting on a golden opportunity.
But
Do you know how much money they would get from me? They would get so much money from me.
Protector, you forgot the big thing, the quote J reviews. Sega is the big enemy to Sonic right now.
You don't need to quote JFJ's reviews, at least not yet. But yeah, you know, I think the Chao Garden's alright. Oh yeah, I guess I should also bring attention to a couple of the sub games that we might have talked about. Hedgehog Hammer, it's only really notable because both of Amy's upgrades are tied to it, including the Lawn Hammer, where you need to immediately go back to the egg carrier before you tackle Final Egg, so you can go score 3,000 points at minimum and then get the Lawn Hammer, which doesn't really do anything other than provide a wider range of a spin attack, but I get it because it's green, and green is the best color, but yeah. Also, you know, there's kart racing in Twinkle Park.
Boo.
It's neat, but yeah, I feel like SA1 sub games just can't really match, you know, SA2's multiplayer. Like, it feels like they were there just to be, well, I mean, this kind of comes to the no-shit Sherlock situation, given that Sonic Adventure 1 and was a Dreamcast launch title, but it feels like they're more so part of a tech demo rather than fleshed out gameplay styles in their own right.
I think that's all the sub games.
Oh yeah, also just one last thing. Emblems. And, you know, the mission mode in SADX. Thanks, you know, Emblems were just a little collectible you could get in a Dreamcast version that amounted to nothing, but from SADX onwards, they unlocked stuff. Gain all 130 of them, granted you the ability to play as Metal Sonic in Trial Mode, which was just a skin of Sonic, but it was still pretty cool to be able to play as Metal Sonic, like, for the first time in a main game. And on top of that, in 3D, so, you know, it's pretty dope. But in the GameCube and first PC release of SADX, because remember, you know, it was released on GameCube and PC back in 2003 or 4 or whatever, alongside Beta SADX, which is the GOAT for restoring these, you can also unlock GameCube games by getting a certain amount of emblems and doing a certain amount of missions in mission mode, allowing you to play such classics like 8-Bit Sonic 1, Sonic Chaos, Triple Trouble, Tails Adventure, you know, Sonic Drift, noted in the game as Sonic Drift Racing, which was actually Drift 2's European title, and of course, what is clearly the best one out of them all, the absolute peakest of fiction, Sonic Blast.
Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, Sonic Blast, more like Sonic Ass. Lamau, got him, nerd.
Belongs in the trash.
But yeah, you know, of course, you know, if SADX, well, if SA1 was to get a proper HD port in the future to all modern systems, something tells me they probably wouldn't bring back the Game Gear games at all because, Origins Plus is going to be a thing. But, it's pretty cool that SADX not only doubled as a re-release of SA1, albeit not the best one possible, but also as a collection in its own right.
I mean, the Game Gear games are better than the Game Gear games in the Gems collection because they don't have Sonic 2 or Sonic Labyrinth.
You might want to do a rain check on that one, Chief. SADX has all 12 Game Gear games. Well, again, the initial SADX alongside better SADX. For some reason, the HD version cut them out, and I will never understand that decision. Even if you could buy like 8 of them on the 3DS a few years later, and then not anymore.
That's probably why they probably took them out, so you just give them, because like you can get them for free once you get the SADX, but the HD version, they're probably like, oh yeah, if we take them out and just sell them, people will buy them anyways.
I wish they kept them in because, I do think that the Game Gear games do still need to be experienced by people, even if I wouldn't recommend playing 8-bit Spinball for more than 2 minutes.
I played 8-bit Mean Bean Machine more than Genesis Mean Bean Machine.
It does have its own exclusive mode, so I guess there's that.
Now, Supersonic.
Oh shit, I also forgot to mention one thing about mission mode. Snowboarding missions in particular suck, but also, for some reason, and in some missions, you interact with, how signposts that depict Sonic X alongside other games, like in the old release, Advance 2 and Pinball Party and whatnot, and in the HD release, which might be overran with the SDX mod, shit like Sonic 06, Sonic for Episode 1, and the best game ever made, Sonic Unleashed, can have their box art scene in Sonic Adventure DX.
Ooh. Okay, now we can talk about Supersonic, right?
It's not Supersonic, it's... Huh?
No. I call Supersonic, the entire package doesn't live up or deserve this final campaign, I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I mean, first off, if it's not even Supersonic, it's a fucking question mark that just goes, But, yeah.
What?
Okay, so remember, what I said about Amy's campaign?
Yeah.
Snackugo?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Making sure we're all on the same page here. It's way more obvious with Supersonic because the only bits of gameplay you have are going between bits of the Mystic Ruins to have cutscenes play, and most of what you're experiencing leading up to the Supersonic fight are cutscenes, and more cutscenes. Thanks. Actually, we should probably go over our thoughts on the story as a whole since we're now at this point.
I gotta go in like a minute. I just want to real quick sum up my thoughts. Final story, it's decent. Question mark, it's cool. The thing that I like, I know a lot of people don't really like, we're going to save Supersonic for the end, right? I think we're all of the camp that it's not really that big of a deal, or we do like it.
To be honest, I'm going to say this right now, I would much rather prefer Supersonic to be something that you save for a big set piece, because, frankly, actually playing as him instead of levels prior to being the final boss, it's kind of overrated.
Yeah.
For me, I just like it like going Super Saiyan at the end. It captures, like, for me, like, it would just kind of take away from the moment of if you were Supersonic at any point in time. You know what I mean? It just kind of takes away like the ability, right? Like you go Super Saiyan, and I'm just generalizing. You can only go Super Saiyan every so often, right? And so if you put it sporadically in the game, it would kind of take away from those moments. Not to say that they do in a game like Frontiers, but overall in the story, because I got to go like literally right after this. Overall in the story, solid. Solid first attempt at like really telling a story with like voice acting and like really getting into the weeds of it, the nitty gritty. I'm not gonna give it like a score or anything. I really like it, but also I grew up with the game, so it's a lot more like there's a lot of bias coming from me. Yeah, it's not complicated. It's just there's a lot of bias coming from me. Like, and I can't take that away. Like, I can't take away the fact that I played this game as a kid when I talk about it, because that's like what I think about when I think about Sonic Adventure. On that note, I gotta go, guys. Sorry that I have to duck out a little early.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I was kind of a little late to the party myself.
Oh,
See you, man.
No worries. No worries. I will talk to you guys soon. I'm sure we're doing SA2 at some point, and we'll
Yep.
schedule
We
and talk about it from
absolutely
there.
will.
Yep.
Have a great rest of your weekend. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too.
So yeah, for my general thoughts on the story, I really like that they decide to expand on some of the lore found in a Japanese Sonic Free manual concerning why Knuckles was the last of the echidnas. And we actually do end up seeing that very thing throughout the entire of the campaign. That's one thing I do love about SA1 is the build up to the big threat of chaos. Now, while the intro FFV would definitely have spoiled it, because Perfect Chaos, it's still pretty cool seeing chaos get stronger and stronger to reach up to that point. Though I must confess, not a fan of the fact that you don't fight Chaos 1, nor are there even Chaos 3 or Chaos 5 designs. At all, it's just 0, 1, 2, 4, 6, and then Perfect. But it's great to see Chaos become more and more, monstrous as he gets more emeralds. Eggman's also rather on point on SA1. You'd think they'd just be nothing more than your average goober of a Saturday morning cartoon villain, but we do see in SA1 that he's actually very much on top of things. Baiting Sonic and Tails into getting the emeralds for him by announcing his plans to do so, knowing that they're gonna go looking for them, which saves him the trouble, as we see when he gets emeralds from them after Casinopolis and the Knuckles fight.
Uh-huh.
And is also making damn sure to have everything else accounted for, or like the Chaos Emerald that belongs to the Flicky, so he sends out Zero to handle that. Gets 4, count them, 4 E100 series robots to look for Froggy. And even has some backup plans, like a missile in case Chaos didn't work out, and a second egg carrier, which is Emily's a bit of an asshole in case Chaos decided to rebel against him. It shows that he's actually very much a genius, not just in the fact he can build fancy tech, but also generally being a decent strategist. It's just that, Sonic is gonna, give him the skill issue check, each and every time. But yeah, that's really good. In fact, we've been talking about the whole they needed to nail this first impression thing. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with Eggman, and in practically every conceivable aspect except character animation, because quite literally, his is the worst out of the lot. But
well, let's be fair here. It was the early days of 3D, so you can kind of give them a pass.
I'm also not going to hold it over them, because here's something that people tend to overlook. And it's something that has generally irked me about SA1 criticism. People always like to say, Crash Bandicoot had better cutscene animation. It didn't have this wacky-ass voice acting. And I'm just sitting here thinking, well, yeah. Did you also know that Crash Bandicoot games were literally made in 1 year, and the cutscenes were perhaps even less... No, not perhaps, just straight up were far less ambitious than what SA1 was trying to do. And on top of that, every Crash game that had a story told in a substantial amount of cutscenes were pretty damn short. And in fact, on occasion, barely even had a story worth a damn to tell. Especially Crash 2, as far as I'm concerned, and I fucking love that game.
Also, SA1 was made in little less, I'm pretty sure it was made in 9 months from what
I think that one's been disproven, because quite frankly, you could not feasibly achieve what SA1 got in 9 months. Just no way in hell. It was a gradual work in progress that probably took at least 2 years. So, of course, there was going to be problems with the cutscene presentation, because, to be very fucking frank, SA1 was the first platformer to truly have a much more, ambitious story. yeah, that's it. Like, yes, we've had platformers with stories before, like, Klonoa, Door to Phantom Isle the year before. That was a pretty good one, but that also has far more limited animation and far less dynamic cutscenes. And I know that calling everyone's cutscenes dynamic is a little generous in some cases, but yeah. And it's not like you can't sell someone a story if the cutscene animation isn't up to par. Like, just look at, say, Sly 2 and 3, which also SA1 tend to reuse those stock animations for cutscenes. They make it work there a lot, though. It's partially because they actually just had better voice direction because they didn't have to work with what was likely a shaky setup for making an English dub. When it was just made in English to begin with. And on top of that, the pacing was definitely better. But, that's...
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. I will say that, yes. If SA1 is to be deemed aged in anything, it's absolutely the cutscenes. But I also feel like they're not really a major deal breaker. The only times I would ever say things get particularly bad is usually when a particular character's voice ends up not being up to par, and it's usually Corey Bringus' Tails. Gonna be honest, child actors in the voice acting industry, I'm not sure they're really the best fit.
There are good ones, it's just that most of the bad ones stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. But I will say that everyone else generally did a solid job with what they were given, and I do wish that, certain VAs were able to stick around for far longer than they did.
Overall, I think that what really breaks the cutscenes for me is a Knuckles campaign where, like Snackugo said, like it's just 15 seconds of Knuckles walking slowly.
Apparently that can be longer or shorter depending on where you're positioned once you be in Chaos 2.
That's the fucking dumbest. I hate it. It's not just in that second. Every single Knuckles cutscene, you have to wait an absurd amount of time just for him to speak again. It's also in Sonic 06, and I hate it.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think that the story is generally good for what it is, but dear God, it would absolutely benefit from a remake. Preferably with as much of the original cast as you can get. Ryan Drummond, Jennifer Douliard. Mike Pollock can easily fill in for Dean Bristow, partially because, Dean Bristow passed away after Advanced 3, which...
Cue the Toy Story 2 when somebody loved me song.
I do. Even though I did not really grow up with a lot of games where Dean Bristow voiced Eggman, I still miss him. He really did bring a lot of energy into the role, that I feel is just, in some cases, unmatched.
Yeah, I feel that. I only grew up with Adventure 1 and Heroes and slightly Adventure 2, but he left a fucking impression on the fan base.
Rest in peace, man. Yeah. You absolutely deserve.
You left your legacy, and everyone still loves you.
Legend, that one. But yeah, Mike Pollock's still a great Eggman, and absolutely, definitely worthy of being considered the voice. But Dean Bristow just it's different.
Dean Bristow, Pollock is consistent. Dean Bristow has the best moments.
I think a lot of the Eggman quotes I tend to go back to are often from Dean Bristow.
So super
That's iconic. But yeah, Oh, I will say that I do generally like SA1's story overall, and the build up to, the final story is pretty solid, even if it is kind of silly that Tikal shows some of the most important events to characters that don't really have much to do with the threat of chaos.
But yes, Tikal should only show them to Sonic and Knuckles, and that's it.
I think it's just the only reason why Tikal's flashbacks are spread out across all the campaigns is to give players incentive to look into each and every one of them to, put together, the pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. But yeah, we've put this off long enough. We have to engage with the soup.
The soup? What flavor is the soup, though? That is the real question.
Hedgehog. But yeah, Super Sonic's campaign. I will say that the lead up to the final boss, when it comes to the story itself, is pretty solid. Kind of weird that Angel Island falls down again, but aside from that, it is cool seeing Chaos explicitly turn on Eggman, and either because Chaos has done playing second fiddle for the sake of getting the emeralds, or maybe I don't know, he just got pissed at the idea that Eggman might have left him for dead or something like. I don't know. It's never explicitly stated, but Chaos does not waste any time. Knocks Eggman out cold, jumps Knuckles when he's not looking, grabs the 6 emeralds, and beats Sonic and Tails, the last one. And the moment he does, Station Square gets flooded in what is perhaps the most thorough disaster scene in any Sonic game. Like, we see the entirety of that city flood, even if we don't see a lot of casualties. We don't see a lot of casuals in this flooded city.
We don't see a lot of casual gamers during this moment.
But yeah, it really, that FMV without, any music playing, it just, the actual disaster itself, it really hits, and it's a massive oh shit moment. Like Fiends just got real. And when Tikal finally reveals her physical form, in the present, and she is naturally not at all happy that history is about to repeat itself, and panics. Thanks, in a bit more of a low-key fashion, Millie, by wanting to seal Chaos back in the Master Emerald. But in one of Sonic's best moments, he recognizes that would not really solve the issue. Chaos would still be full of anger and resentment for what happened 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. And sealing him in the Master Emerald would probably just make it so that history would repeat itself once again one day. Tikal, understandably, it does fire back with the fact that they don't exactly have much of another choice until we see, the whole, the Chaos Emeralds have both positive and negative energy, any energy source, and that Sonic can use the positive energy to combat perfect chaos by turning into Super Sonic, and then, placing, the, revenge-driven and Beast by ramming into his head at supersonic speed over and over, which ends up working out because once the intensities died down by quite a bit and Chaos has seized a bunch of Chao alive and well, it's pretty heartwarming. Seeing him finally be at peace, and moving on from what happened in the past.
Him and Tikal then ascended to the heavens.
Yeah, it's time for them to move on. Chaos' spirit is finally at ease, and this tragedy will no longer repeat itself.
All's well that ends well, right?
The city's been fucking destroyed! Yeah, that's the one part of the ending I don't really like. The fact that in the English dub, Tails is like, all's well that ends well, right? No, I'm gonna give the kid the benefit of the doubt. He was probably just trying to cope with the fact that the city was still in a wreck.
I'm just coping right now, guys. It's no big deal. It's no big deal whatsoever.
But the finale of SA1, on the gameplay side of things, it definitely is not the best. But for paying off what the story's been leading up to, it's pretty damn good. And quite like the finale too, especially when BetXDX puts the Perfect Chaos Survival music first and then saves Open Your Heart for the second half, which really brings the climactic nature full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so, and it says a lot to its memorability that the major boss fight to represent the Dreamcast era and Generations was Perfect Chaos. Only that time with what they wanted his design to be, instead of, the pure water or lizard being we see in SA1 as it is, we actually see some more reptilian and design elements on that one, and my word, he looks absolutely fabulous.
People Fan 77 quote check.
Good times.
But
yeah, SA1 did end on a pretty good note, and
I
overall, I feel like SA1 really good transition to 3D. Like after the struggles of simply getting this kind of idea off the ground during the Saturn days, not helped by other decisions made internally, they nailed this with flying colors. It can't be stated enough just how much of a highly stressful task this must have been to achieve, and the fact that they nailed it so well that SA1 became like the best-selling Dreamcast game, I'm outdoing all of the competition on its system, and becoming one of the most beloved titles in the series is on release. That is an achievement that everyone who worked on the game should be absolutely proud of themselves for. Or it is damn good. Or it's definitely one of Sonic's better 3D endeavors even today, though obviously just play on a PC with better SDX because then it truly is at its best potential. SDX as is not really an ideal way to play it. Although neither is the Dreamcast original. If you care about the frame rate and the fact that you can't skip cutscenes in that one. But yeah, my only issues with it that do kill its replayability are the fact that there's no ranking system, and that, yeah, Sonic does generally feel like the only one I really want to replay, whereas everyone else really just feels like an undercooked appetizer by comparison, even if some have been others. But altogether, like, when taking in everything as a whole, absolutely A tier.
I agree with most of that. I think Supersonic was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, they probably should have had something equivalent to Cannon's Core End of the World. Something Ruby of Blue did actually tackle this concept in this SA1 Dream remake video. Oh, and what he proposed for what could have been an SA1 remake's equivalent to Cannon's Core actually sounds pretty damn hype, and if SA1 were to ever get remade, that would be a nice addition to have.
I never saw that video.
You probably should. It's actually they got some pretty cool concepts.
But like, I think that Big should fucking fish for no. When I think about this, no Big.
Actually, he also addresses the whole fishing thing as an alternative for that when it comes to Big's gameplay. So yeah, as you were saying.
But like, Big fishes for a Chaos Emerald. Amy grabs the Chaos Emerald being chased by a Chaos Monster.
Dude,
like that kind of thing.
Yeah, weren't you trying to finish up your thoughts before I interrupted?
Huh?
We're now at the end.
Well, you talked about the Supersonic campaign, then gave your overall thoughts.
But you were about to say that most of what I said about my final thoughts you agree with, except for
the Supersonic campaign.
Well, I mean, I don't even consider it to be all that great in terms of gameplay. I just think that when it comes to the general climax,
I'm just saying that the climax is a missed opportunity, and also the Chaos boss fight's not that good. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not even saying it is on a gameplay level, but yeah, your overall thoughts on SA1?
I respect Sonic Adventure more than I enjoy it. Like, before this podcast, I would have given it like a high B tier, but thinking about it critically, I can't say I like it nor do I hate it. Like, Sonic's campaign, I would have said it was the best thing about, like, not the best Sonic game, but after replaying it, there's some things I don't like about it, and I would give it like an 8 out of 10. Tails is boring. Aside from the story, I'm not really all that engaged. It's middling. It's a 5 or 4 out of 10. Knuckles is good, but his levels, aside from Casinopolis is just the same levels as Sonic's, and they're not really, and this treasure hunting is not all that hard. Like, not like this. Like, it's too easy at moments. If that makes sense.
Especially early on.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's a 7 out of 10. Amy is fine. Her story's pretty good. Before then, I would have said it was filler, but thinking about it, it's pretty good. Like I feel like before that would have been like, you could have just like given Amy a Chaos Emerald and just have Zero go after her instead of the Flicky.
I mean, I do think the Flicky was needed to help show how the fact that, as I said before, Amy's the heart of the main 4 characters. You know, herself, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles.
Yeah. Like, she's fine. Like, aside from Hot Shelter, like her levels are fine. They're simple. Aside from Hot Shelter, they're like not that long. Like, she's a 6. Big sucks. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, on the gameplay side of things, absolutely. Let's just move on.
Yep, like 2 to 3 out of 10. Gamma is really good, but his bosses, aside from Beta, the final Beta fight, and the and like they're not good, and the timer isn't really a huge thing.
Yeah, that
level.
Outside of Hot Shelter, it is a complete non-factor.
But his story is like the best one out of all 6, arguably. So like it's
his character arc pretty much perfect.
And I still don't think Supersonic was worth the build-up, personally. It's a fine final campaign. It's just you're mainly there for live and learn in the final chaos fight, I feel, instead of the story significance. You know, the story is pretty good in the final campaign.
Yeah. Open your heart, but it's pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm. And there are the jank aspects that don't really help the game.
To be honest, most of the jank really comes from, you know, shit like the fishing. I feel like SA1 is actually pretty decently polished overall.
Mm-hmm. I think SA2 is slightly more polished, even if it has the same button syndrome.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that, you know, in a later podcast. You know, get to go on for that one. Maybe get some others. As in,
James wants to join, so I'm thinking about it. So we might invite him.
Oh yeah, the more the better, I say. But yeah, you know, that's just
overall Sonic Adventure. I respect it more than I love it. It's fine. I'll replay it. I'll replay Sonic's campaign mainly for speedrunning, but I mainly replay Sonic. Everyone else, I can take or leave. It's like a C tier game for me.
I would say that it's an A tier because the overall experience is pretty good, but I will say that it is also a game I just don't really replay all that often. If I had a ranking system, I'd be more inclined to, but yeah.
But overall, Sonic Adventure, I still recommend people play Sonic Adventure because
if you're ever gonna play it again, I know I've said this multiple times, like more than I should, but on Steam, Beta SDX, maybe even find a separate Beta Windy Valley mod, just to sweeten the deal. That's pretty much peak. Like, also, if you like your memes, there's probably something being put together by Speeps, I think it was, that allows you to make your very own SA1 unmeme cutscenes, so you know.
There's some pretty golden videos on YouTube using that stuff.
Primarily by a guy by the name of Jet, you know, spelt Jehtt. Hey, you know, his Sonic shitpost videos are actually, you know, legitimate gutbusters.
Bro, are you flirting on my sister?
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the one where Team Sonic's jaws broke.
Oh, I never saw that one.
You should. But yeah, you know, SA1, it was absolutely about as good of a transition to 3DS Sonic could have possibly hoped for, and more. And for its time, you know, considering that it was released 2 years after Super Mario 64, so, you know, it was still when quite a few franchises were trying to figure their shit out. The fact that Sonic Team nailed all this, just right then and there, it's truly special, man.
Yeah.
And I do wish that the game was never subject to the major paradigm shift in its reputation that occurred around the early 2010s.
Probably wrong.
You know, things have been back on track like in recent years, so you know, I guess I can't really complain too much.
Adventure games is the paradigm shift for the adventure games is so fucking crazy.
We'll talk about that once we get around to, you know, colors.
Oh yeah, colors. Anyway,
that's gonna be quite a ways away, so you know.
That,
but we've been going on for a long time.
We've been going on for like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
And all
and
just
we
on
only
one.
talked about Sonic and no other games.
Sonic just generates a lot of discussion that, yeah, you know. I'll see y'all for, I don't know, whatever the next podcast is gonna be. I don't know.
I don't know yet, but I will get to you. I will put it on the updates channel when I get to it. Right now, audience, if you're hearing my voice, I sound very raspy. That's because I haven't really been feeling all that well for the past few days.
I mean, the fact that you've been able to talk for quite a bit in this podcast shows that you're probably still in decent condition, and all things considered.
It's just been like I've been coughing all the time, and it hurts my chest. But you know, I like talking to y'all. But I like talking to y'all. That's kind of worth it for me. But
yeah.
Thank y'all for listening. I'll put Protector's Twitter down below, same with Snackugo's YouTube and Twitter links, and obviously you're watching on my channel, so yeah, subscribe button.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please appease the almighty YouTube algorithm.
Anyway, thanks for listening.